What up? It's your boy T on the reaction. About to do another video. Make up for Wrestling Wednesday though. This is called 10 WWE gimmicks that WCW stole. So a lot of time when it comes to competition of any brand or anything, there will be something that a character, gimmick, or brand, or anything else of the above. They will have something that is very similar to the rival company as well too, whether it works or does not work as well too. And it even happened in wrestling as well too. WCW, WWE, and WCW was like the big top wrestling promotion time or battling for a while, especially during the Monday Night Wars. So of course there gonna be times that WCW or in a words WWE stole a gimmick from them. So either way, we'll see what 10 gimmicks that WCW stole from WWE. So without further ado, let's check out these 10 gimmicks. Let's get it. Sorry if it's still rolling, but anyway, let's get it. So we got a little company here, so yeah. Little man walked over here, so we got some little mic. So anyway, let's see these 10 gimmicks that WCW stole. Let's get it.
10 WWE gimmicks that WCW literally copied. Number 10, the Ultimate Warrior and the Renegade. Even though the Ultimate Warrior was the most acclaimed in-ring talent in the world, he had the charisma and energy to pull the Warrior gimmick off. And there's not a single name in wrestling history that could have delivered the gimmick as well as Jim Hellwig. In 1995, there were rumors that WCW had potentially signed Warrior to a WCW contract. These rumors surfaced after Hulk Hogan was promoting an Ultimate Surprise to debut at the Uncensored pay-per-view, and to add fuel to the fire, WCW would even show a silhouette of a man who had long hair and tassels tied to his arm. In typical WCW fashion, this was a complete swerve, as it would debut a character known as the Renegade.
What?
This was a wrestler who was doing a cheap copy of the Ultimate Warrior's entire gimmick, and it wasn't exactly the surprise of the year when the crowd instantly rejected it. The main problem with this persona is that it showed that WCW, more specifically Eric Bischoff, was already starting to get out of touch with the WCW audience. What did WCW and Bischoff expect?
What in the hell was they thinking? Really? Yeah, this is when he's getting out of touch. Yeah, then WO saved them on the cool. Don't roll the hills, but WW saved them. This is what they was going through for that. Wow, they was desperate.
Did they truly believe that the WCW audience were that naive to accept the Renegade as a second coming of their former WWE champion? Number 9, Jim Ross and Oklahoma. There are lines in pro wrestling that companies should never cross, and WCW crossed the line when they debuted the character known as Oklahoma. Vince Russo was responsible for introducing the character on TV in the...
Not surprised. Vince Russo. Yeah, like I said, first I was straight gun cold to WWE as well too. I barely watched WCW. Even during the Monday Night War, I was still rolling WWE as well. So yeah, I knew about the NWO and all. That's why I ended up rewatching it to know the whole full history of it, especially with the Wolfpack and all as well too. But at the same time, I was mainly WWE, and I did not know about this. Wow. And not surprised, Vince Russo. Jesus Christ.
The late 90s, and this character was portrayed by former WWE writer Ed Ferrara. The idea behind the copycat gimmick was to humiliate Jim Ross. Whilst the content and characteristics of the gimmick were disgusting, it actually massively backfired on WCW, as JR is so beloved and celebrated that fans and fellow wrestling personalities were quick to call out WCW. It was never made clear what the long-term goal of the character was, and this was a worrying trend that the company had in the creative department during their final few years.
Even the Oklahoma guy is like in the text of WWE. That's how they add to era logo. Wow.
Russo devoted so much time and resources into this dire character that he would even book Oklahoma to win the Cruiserweight title. The Cruiserweight title at one time was the highlight of WCW programming, yet virtually overnight, Russo had destroyed any credibility and aura the title and the division had left.
Man, Russo was definitely indeed the wrestling devil. That's all I gotta say. I not surprised, but at the same time, Jesus, man. Wow. Now this is it. I saw the thumbnail, but wow.
separate China and Asia.
Wow.
WCW were getting so desperate in the late 90s that they even introduced their own version of WWE's China. WCW would debut a wrestler known as Asia. She would be booked in a manner that was similar to China, yet she had zero legitimacy as a wrestler, and China had the ability to just have a presence just by standing in the ring. This was something that Asia just simply didn't have. WCW would book her to be the bodyguard for the Revolution stable, and the idea here was to replicate the success of DX and China. However, there was a distinct lack of chemistry which led to the creative idea completely flopping. WCW would often remind fans on commentary that Asia was bigger than China, and this was so unbelievably forced as WCW were going out of their way to tell.
No wonder why Perry Dean and them left. What the because they was involved. No wonder why they left. They was involved in it. No wonder why they left and became the what was it, the Radicals. No wonder. Jesus.
The audience that this gimmick was better than the China character.
No,
Yet not even
it
the
wasn't.
core WCW audience were believing that narrative that they were spinning. Number 7, Crash Holly and Norman Smiley. In late 1999, Norman Smiley would become the face of the new hardcore division. This was an attempt to replicate the success of WWE's hardcore division and, of course, ECW. Even though the Smiley hardcore gimmick debuted before the late great Crash Holly would insert himself into the hardcore division, it's only when Crash became insanely over in WWE that WCW committed to booking Smiley to have numerous segments on the show. Smiley's work was outstanding in this role. It was completely ridiculous. Some of his segments were the highlights of WCW TV product, as he had natural charisma and incredible comedic timing. Smiley rarely gets his flowers for positive contributions to WCW, which is a massive shame. However, it's wonderful to see that the inaugural WCW Hardcore Champion is still involved in the wrestling business as he trains the wrestlers of tomorrow at the WWE Performance Center. Number 6, Hulk Hogan and Randy Hogan. Randy Hogan is mostly known for his role as an enhancement talent in the 80s in WCW.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about that.
Hogan sported a similar hairstyle and mustache as the Hulkster. Surprisingly, according to Randy Hogan, the actual Hogan never had an issue with the parody. This was mainly down to Randy never getting in any controversy, something that the real Hogan can't relate to. Now, an interesting story about Randy Hogan is that in 1994, when Hulk Hogan signed for WCW, Randy was dispatched by a local radio provider to interview Hulk Hogan in relation to his WCW signing. Yet unfortunately, no audio clips of this interview are available for fans to enjoy. Number 5, Road Dogg and Buzzkill.
Okay. Let's see what it's all about. Hold up. I don't know what. Hold on. Let's see what's going on with this. Alright, I'm back. Let's see what this one's all about. Well, don't go in the corner. Anyway, let's see what this is all about.
Brad Armstrong was struggling to find a suitable gimmick in WCW in the late 90s, so it was decided that...
Give me a second. Oh, my headphones. My level input came out. Y'all probably heard it, but I couldn't, so hold on a second. Again, Jesus Christ. Anyway, but stop it. Oh my God, stop. Stop. Yeah, he's saying, little man said stop.
Number 5, Road Dogg and Buzzkill. Brad Armstrong was struggling to find a suitable gimmick in WCW in the late 90s, so it was decided that Armstrong would portray a character known as Buzzkill.
Oh, why would you put that man through that?
This gimmick would be a parody of WWE's Road Dogg character, and the idea from Vince Russo at the time was clearly that Armstrong would be able to deliver a strong parody, because after all, he and Road Dogg were real-life brothers.
Exactly.
The gimmick was basically a carbon copy and had no elements of uniqueness. Armstrong always looked awkward in any segments he was involved in, and the character was met with utter silence from the crowd. For the infamous gimmick, Armstrong used an entrance theme like the one used by the New Age Outlaws, and even this did little to get the gimmick over. This was a sign that WCW were creatively bankrupt in every department, as there was a distinct lack of new ideas, and the product was crying out for an element of creativity and uniqueness. Number 4, Nails.
Hold on. How you still a world? How you go from stealing one bad gimmick to making your own gimmick? That's probably worse. But I'm talking about this one right here. But that one, in my opinion, was kind of fucked up. Especially since they're brothers. Yeah, that ain't cool. I mean, and dude, Brad Armstrong already was pretty good legend. You put him through that though. Come on, dog. Come on, dog. But now this one, I gotta see because this probably went from one bad gimmick to another. Let's see.
And the Prisoner. Nails was released from his WWE contract in 1992 when he reportedly attacked Vince McMahon backstage. This should have been enough to keep Nails away from the wrestling industry, as it was a sign that he had serious anger management issues, yet WCW just couldn't resist bringing him in. Nails would appear as a prisoner, and WCW...
Oh, it is worse. It's pretty much him. It's pretty much they use him with the same get. Oh, it is worse. Wow.
would replicate every single element of the Nails persona, and this ultimately had little effect. Nails would have one televised match in WCW as he wrestled the Icon Sting at the Slamboree pay-per-view. WCW would indirectly refer to the McMahon incident by stating that Nails was from the city in which he infamously choked McMahon. The match with Sting was utterly abysmal, and if a wrestler wasn't able to have a good match with Sting, especially in the early 90s, then they simply didn't have what it took to be a top guy in the company. Number 3, Earthquake, an Avalanche.
Oh, come
WCW
on.
once delivered a gimmick that was so close to a WWE character that WWE even threatened legal action.
You
When
got that
Earthquake
right.
left WWE, he eventually found himself in WCW.
Oh,
and they were presented
it's
as
another-
Avalanche.
oh,
The
same
gimmick was
thing.
almost identical to what came before.
It's the same thing,
It was
pretty
confusing
much.
at the time as to how WCW managed to get away with it. However, it was only a matter of time before WWE took issue with the parody of their
Wow.
intellectual property. WWE would insist that they change the gimmick, and WCW agreed, as Avalanche would become the Shark, a gimmick that must have taken around 5 seconds to come up with. Number 2, Team Canada and the Hart Foundation. In the summer of 2000, WCW began to debut a new stable on WCW television known as Team Canada. This stable would be led by Lance Storm, and it was a pro-Canadian, anti-American stable, and fans instantly knew that WCW were trying to copy the heel version of the Hart Foundation that WWE delivered so successfully a few years prior. WCW allowing one of the most
I never
technical
thought
savvy
about that,
wrestlers
but
on their
wow.
roster to lead the stable was interesting, as Storm was clearly supposed to be their version of Hart, and the curious thing about the group is that Hart was a member of the WCW roster at the time,
Wow.
and even interacted with the
What?
group. And to their credit, WCW did attempt to add some unique elements to the group's presentation,
Yeah.
mainly rebranding WCW titles to pro-Canadian names, and most of the work of the group was well received by fans.
And then
Extra praise should also be
turn in Jim Duggan Hill, and that you see that was, in case you wondering, that was Jim Duggan on the right. Yeah, that one. Wow, That's like a heel gimmick that should not last long. Cause I'm glad that I heard that heel gimmick did not last long because fans was feeling that.
be offered as Storm, who was incredible in the role, as Storm
Well,
was
he
one
did,
of the
didn't he?
highlights of TV at the time, and his in-ring work combined with the heel heat he was receiving could have easily justified a main event run in the company. And number 1, Andre the Giant.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Giant. The Giant,
Oh,
aka
yeah.
The Big Show, arrived on WCW TV in '95, and he was labeled as Andre the Giant's son.
Yup.
He would dress in a similar
Yup.
attire to Andre, and it was evident that he was directed to try and mimic his moveset and mannerisms. WCW would go so far as to even give the Giant no music, and this is the exact
Wow.
same formula that WWE used to keep Andre's mystique and aura intact. It was Hulk Hogan's idea to build a Giant as Andre the Giant's son. This is what Eric Bischoff had to say about the gimmick on his podcast.
Hulk was so excited about Paul White. Hulk or anybody else that's been successful is going to go with what they know. What's worked for me in the past? How do I recreate that? Make it feel a little different, but do something that I believe the audience is going to respond to based on my experience in the past, which is not a bad way to make a decision. He wanted him to be the son of Andre or whatever he was. That was all Hulk. So there was no discussion.
No,
Maybe we should
you
make
know
him
it's
something.
number one. It's really not that bad. Not that bad compared to the ones before. But I see why it's number one just cause. But compared to the other, it wasn't even that bad, to be honest. This is that because Paul White is turned out to be a great legend wrestler for his time in both WCW and WWE, man. So it definitely wasn't like I get why they did it and why is it, and the fact that it's a Hogan idea, we didn't like Hogan like that, but at the same time, it wasn't a bad idea. But I get why I said number one just cause.
Something else.
The Giant did manage to get somewhat over in WCW,
He did.
yet this wasn't down to the Andre billing. It was mainly down to the Giant working with top names, and it was when WCW suddenly stopped the Son of Andre gimmick that the Giant was able to truly shine and
Right.
show off his skill set. Speaking on T95, the Rock Station, this is what the former
Shout out to
WWE
boy
champion had
Paul
to say on the
White.
billing. That's how they did things back in the day. When you get introduced, you gotta have some kind of legacy and validity of who they are. And that was one of the ways they did it. Arn Anderson wasn't really Ole
Yup.
Anderson's nephew, stuff like that. There was a lot of that going on. Somebody related to
Yeah,
somebody.
so
that's why
I
they're
ain't
here.
mad
And they
about
brought
it
me
because
as
you
Andre's
know,
son, and we
and it's fine. So for a while, Christian Edge and Christian was brothers. Hawkins and Brian Myers and Mike O'Donnell, aka Hawk and Ryder, they was originally the Major Brothers. A lot of people was a lot of others was like cousins and brothers, and then down the line they just got labeled as good best friends and anything during their careers. But yeah, so that's not too bad as well either. Like I said, it's number one because of who both guys are, and both guys are legendary. But at the same time, compared to all the other ones they show, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I wouldn't fault WCW on that one as much compared to the other. I mean, be honest, the damn what was it? Not that not the Rain Horror, because that wasn't that bad either. To be honest, the fake China one, and what was the one before that? The Jim Ross one should have been number one. The fake Jim Ross should be number one. But I get why they did, because I guess it ain't from bad to worse. But if it's from bad to worse, them two was definitely been on top for sure. But this one wasn't, like I said, this wasn't bad.
were off and running after that. The Giant would later sign for WWE and would arrive on the screens in 1999. The Giant, now known as The Big Show, would have major success in WWE and would embark on a Hall of Fame career. But there you have it, folks. 10 WWE gimmicks that
but
WCW
the ones they showed,
copied.
the one they showed was bad. I will say that. WCW that members that thought were actual real. Yeah, but yeah, that'd be interesting one to check out. Interesting things that didn't fit the W wrestler. I might check that out. But yeah, other than that, this was interesting. I will say that. Like the ones other, like I said, the Big Show wasn't too bad. The Norman Smiley wasn't like crazy either though. Well, but yeah, this one, in my opinion, that's just, in my opinion, I'm gonna say that's just fucked up, because especially one of their brothers, like, that wasn't cool. So that was not cool. Between this and that one, that was like, I get it, but at the same time, but still was pretty bad. The Key Kent Nano wasn't as bad. I see why they did it. Thank you. I see why it might have been looked as a copy, but at the same time, if you was a Hell fan, you probably want to look at it as like that. But yeah, this shit with the fake what's the name is called again? The fake what's his name again?
So this interview are available for fans to enjoy. Number 5,
yeah,
Road
the Buzzkill,
Brad Armstrong.
Buzzkill, the Asia, and Oklahoma, that they Eric Bischoff. Oh yeah, and the Renegade. Yeah, Eric Bischoff needs his ass beat at the time. No, sorry. Eric Bischoff needs his ass beat for the Renegade, but the Oklahoma, Asia, and Buzzkill is another more list of reason why Vince Russo should never be a WWE wrestler, a writer ever again. Should never been in the first place. A wrestling writer ever again in the first place, and needs his ass beat for real, because he lost his mind. Eric lost his mind right here, but the NWO saved him. But that other ones, yeah, Vince Russo needs his ass beat. Other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bird signing off. One love.